Welcome back, everyone, to Random's Thoughts. I had a recent game in Phobies that I thought was really cool, and we broke it down on stream, what went right, what went wrong, and ultimately how the outcome got to where it was. So let's jump in. But yeah, going back to, I wanted to look at this game again. So, to me, yeah, I think that's actually a good idea, Doc. I agree with you. So, one thing I would love to add to the replay is a speed up and slow down feature. We do have fast forward and rewind, but it would be nice to just have the turns go by quicker as I'm narrating. But to me, this entire map seems to revolve around, as you'd expect, the amp point, the stim pad, whatever it's called, the stim point. I don't remember the actual name. Oh, so by the way, this was the first excruciating mistake. We needed this guy here. Well, realistically, we couldn't go to either of these positions. He had to be here. Because if we put him here, this guy can still leap to him. The cat can get to him, just like we saw. Basically, he has to be back here. We threw away 2 keys and almost punted as a result. Full disclosure. But to me, this entire map revolves around Murderfly and Jar right now. Now, maybe that changes as you get into higher leagues, and there's a strategy or a phobie that I have yet to see or something like that. But getting a Jar, as we saw later in the game, on this map, on the point, you control, and this is the case for a lot of maps. Stim pads often show up either next to your heart, as we see here, but and sometimes they show up near or in a location that you can cover 2 panic points or multiple panic points, aka you stick a ranged guy on it and you're controlling a bunch of points. Now, I think our opponent, and this is not insulting our opponent in any way, I think they made a bunch of mistakes, including on this turn. I think they should have expected that this Murderfly was going to croak if they expose it, and that goes to reinforce my earlier point that this map feels as though it completely revolves around preserving your Jar and preserving the Murderfly. The Murderfly, namely, because it can just swoop in and blow up your Jar. Now, maybe higher levels of Jar, when it gets more hit points, it'll hit a break point where it doesn't get one shot by Murderfly. But that is yet to happen. They tend to increase by, like we were talking about earlier. I think somebody on Twitter said it was 3%. So the Jars don't survive much. You can look at them funny and they croak, which is appropriate. But the Murderflies are key to getting into position so that you can off the Jar. Once you have control of this, it's very difficult to wrestle it back from your opponent, because if they can cover 2 points, they're crapping out 1,000 damage. Yes, that's not going to kill many things above 4 keys in one shot. It may not even kill some 3 keys like Gravedigger here, but it's a lot of damage, and you definitely put a hurt on things. Now, the reason I wanted to pause is because I wanted to call out this play, which I actually felt a little proud of, so shout out to me. And that's because dropping this here, and I mentioned this while we were playing the game, but these 3 guys could beat up our Gravedigger here, but by dropping this behind us, putting this statue here, and by the way, I love that it's like the thinking man pose, they can't put both melee guys on our Gravedigger, so he survives. Barely, but he survives. Since we've already eliminated their Murderfly, there were limited range characters that they could play with the keys they have to actually get to us. Now, I'm sure there's something that I haven't seen that probably could have finished them off, but I was playing around the knowledge that I had. Now, since they decided to lay into this guy, and probably didn't have enough time to rewind the turn to change and do something else, we were able to pop the Jar, eliminate the cat, which we spent a lot of time in-game talking about how powerful a one-drop cat can be, because it can push a lot of damage. And we were able to pressure all of it. Like, now we match their guy, we have better board position, we have panic point control, we're in control, that we have more keys, everything is going in our favor. It's just a matter of don't lose the game from this stage. Voodoo is a nice plan B if you lose the Jar, but Stim Jar is nice. Game-winning turn right there. Yeah, I think that turn was what won the game. Or arguably our opponent lost the game on that turn. Like, because that's the thing with this game. There's no variance in it. There's no dice roll, at least as far as I know, to any units or any of their attacks. There are known cooldowns. There are known movements. Everything is open information. You can see everything that's happening. It's like playing chess or Go. There is an argument to be made that there's a little bit of variance in you don't know what phobies your opponent has access to, although eventually you can assume that they have all of them. And the other variance would be what level their phobies are. So there's an argument that there's a little bit, but it's not quite the same as flipping coins or shuffling cards as there are in other games. And I know the official Phobies accounts refer to this game as cards, but other than being rectangles, they're not really cards. But anyway, this turn was a little weird. Like this whole sequence of turns while I was talking. I don't know if it was worth doing what we were doing, but we had such an enormous advantage that it kind of felt like, okay, try and bait our opponent into something just to end the game sooner. But arguably, I think this guy had to die. The deli slicer from hell, whatever his name is, that guy had to die. And then now, because their movement speed with Erratic is so low, you can see here where we finish it off, they had to expose themselves on this turn. The sheep is melee, so it's going to have to also expose itself. There's really not much they could do once they were in that position. The turn a few turns ago, like we talked about, was the decisive one. Now, we elected here to pop it with the Eye Master. We could have gone with the cat, but it was kind of... This was one of those, I just want to end the game quicker rather than waiting around for it. Clearly, the sheep doesn't matter. It's their only phobie left. We're just going to obliterate it momentarily. So, I mean, this worked out pretty well. I really liked this game. I feel like we played it, with the exception of that early mistake, which put us in a bad spot. We played the rest of the turns pretty well, I think. And it had a cool turn there, so... That'll do it for this one, though, folks. If you enjoyed this breakdown and you want to see more, you can check out my live stream over on Twitch down below at RTChompGG, or check out some of my other phobies and other content here on YouTube. But as always, everyone, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and Black Lives Matter.